Stranger Things Season 5 tried to close a story that slowly grew far bigger than its original design. What started as a small mystery about a missing boy and a secret government lab became a multi-dimensional war involving psychic children, cosmic entities, time distortion, and reality itself. Because of that growth, the finale carries an enormous burden. It has to resolve emotional arcs, explain lore, justify past events, and still feel satisfying. The problem is not that Stranger Things ignores logic entirely. The problem is that it assumes the audience will connect dots. The show no longer has time to draw clearly. And when a finale relies on assumptions instead of answers, viewers start noticing gaps. Let's start with the most immediate and dangerous contradiction. The military lets our heroes go. From the government's perspective, Eleven, Hopper, Joyce, and the kids are not heroes. They are liabilities. They have first-hand knowledge of interdimensional breaches, classified experiments, child weaponization programs, and illegal military operations. Hopper alone has killed federal soldiers. 11 is a walking weapon capable of collapsing buildings. In any realistic system, these people would never be released back into civilian life. The only reason they are is because arresting them creates a bigger problem than freeing them. Trials would expose Hawkins' lab, Brenner's crimes, and the government's failure to contain the Upside Down. This isn't mercy, it's damage control. The government's best move is to quietly erase the entire incident, label Hawkins a chemical disaster zone, suppress media coverage, and let the witnesses live under implied silence. The show clearly intends this explanation, but it never verbalizes it, which makes the outcome feel convenient instead of calculated. That problem becomes worse when we focus on Hopper. Hopper does not just break rules, he violates federal law repeatedly. He kills soldiers, steals military vehicles, breaks into classified locations, and leads civilians into active combat zones. Even if the government wants silence, Hopper represents a loose end. So, how does he not only walk free, but regain his position as chief of police? The only logical explanation is that Hopper's death was officially erased. In public records, Hopper never returned from Russia because he never officially existed after Season 3. By reinstating him quietly in Hawkins, the government avoids attention while keeping someone they understand under watch. Hopper isn't forgiven, he's tolerated. Again, this works logically, but the show skips the explanation, which makes viewers feel like consequences were ignored. Now let's talk about the disappearance of the Demogorgons. The Upside Down is not just empty space. It's supposed to be an ecosystem. We've seen Demogorgons, Demodogs, Demobots, and organic growth everywhere. In the finale, however, these creatures are largely absent. This is not an oversight. The Mind Flayer has never functioned like a commander with independent soldiers. It operates like a hive organism that absorbs biological matter into itself. Rats in Season 3 weren't soldiers. They were raw material. Humans in Hawkins weren't victims. They were ingredients. The Demogorgons did not disappear. They were consumed and repurposed as mass and energy for the Mind Flayer's final form. The show visually hints at this through organic structures, but never explains it verbally, which causes confusion for viewers expecting a final monster swarm. This leads directly into the biggest complaint of the finale. Vecna and the Mind Flayer feel weak. These beings have been built up as near-godlike threats, yet they are ultimately defeated by fire, bullets, and coordinated attacks. The mistake here is assuming the fight was physical. Vecna and the Mind Flayer are not traditional creatures. They are psychic entities using physical vessels. When the group attacks the Mind Flayer's body, they are not killing it. They are destabilizing its connection to Vecna. Vecna, in turn, relies on that connection to maintain control over the Upside Down. When that feedback loop breaks, both entities weaken simultaneously. The fight looks easy because the show never clearly states that the real battle is happening on a psychic level, not a physical one. Without that explanation, the climax feels underpowered. This confusion also affects Will's survival. Will was connected to the Mind Flayer longer than anyone else. If the Mind Flayer truly died, Will should have suffered severe consequences. The most logical explanation is that the Mind Flayer did not fully die. It was severed from Earth. Alternatively, Will's connection weakened long before the final blow, meaning he was no longer fully tethered. Either explanation works, but again, the show refuses to commit to one, leaving Will's safety unexplained and emotionally incomplete. Now we need to address November 6th. November 6th is the most important date in Stranger Things lore. It's the day Will disappears, the day the Upside Down becomes frozen in time, and the day the boundary between worlds permanently weakens. This is not coincidence. November 6th is the moment two realities synchronized. The Upside Down did not freeze because of Eleven's banishment of Henry. That happened earlier. It froze because Will's abduction imprinted Hawkins onto the alternate dimension. The Upside Down is not a parallel Earth. It is a psychic snapshot created during trauma. This explains why objects exist where they shouldn't, and why time doesn't move forward. Unfortunately, the show never outright explains this, leaving fans to piece it together through visual clues. That frozen state creates more problems. How does Camazotz exist if Vecna couldn't have seen it? The answer is that the Upside Down is not built entirely from Vecna's memories. It is influenced by collective psychic residue, fear, trauma, and emotional imprinting from multiple minds. Camazotz doesn't need Vecna to exist. It exists because the Upside Down is reactive, not curated. Now let's talk about exotic matter and the 12 vessels. Exotic matter is not alien. It's human-made. Early experiments likely attempted to stabilize interdimensional energy, unintentionally creating substance that could store consciousness. Vecna didn't need 12 vessels for symbolism alone. He needed amplification. Each vessel acted as a node, strengthening the signal between dimensions. 12 is not arbitrary. It represents structural balance, similar to clock hours or neural networks. This also explains why killing fewer victims wouldn't work. Vecna wasn't killing randomly. He was building infrastructure. So, what was the Mind Flayer's actual plan when the Abyss collided with Earth? Not destruction, assimilation. Earth was never meant to be destroyed. It was meant to be absorbed, reshaped, and merged into a single consciousness. That's why the Mind Flayer uses organic material instead of wiping cities out instantly. It doesn't want ruins, it wants raw material. This brings us to Carly, Eleven, and Mike's final theory, which simply does not hold up logically. Idea that Kali created a massive illusion covering explosions, deaths, and environmental collapse stretches credibility even within Stranger Things rules. This theory exists not because it makes sense, but because Mike needs it to. Mike has always processed trauma through storytelling. His final explanation is not factual, it's emotional survival. The show subtly suggests this, but never clarifies it, leaving viewers frustrated instead of reflective. Now we reach the darker unresolved threads. Pregnant women trapped in the Upside Down are never addressed, which implies horrifying outcomes the show avoids acknowledging. A water-filled tank in a dimension without weather or water cycles makes no physical sense and likely exists only as visual symbolism. Dr. K's disappearance suggests the government erased him entirely, but again, the show never confirms it. Max graduating after an extended coma contradicts basic reality, unless time skips were exaggerated. Joyce and Hopper never acknowledging Henry Creel as a former classmate is either a writing oversight or an intentional avoidance to prevent reopening trauma. Vicky vanishing without closure undermines Robin's arc. Hazmat suits becoming unnecessary removes tension established in early seasons. Derek's kidnapped family being ignored suggests narrative prioritization over moral resolution. The scientist in the cave with the sample likely represents early failed cooperation between humans and the Upside Down, but his story is abandoned. And while we're untangling the finale's mysteries, there's one glaring absence. Susie, Dustin's girlfriend. The girl who literally saved the world with her voice, and the light in his chaotic teenage life. Where was she? All of these issues point to one conclusion. Stranger Things did not fail because it lacked ideas. It struggled because it had too many. The finale chooses emotional closure over structural explanation, trusting fans to fill in the blanks. Some fans love that, others feel cheated, and both reactions are valid. Stranger Things ends not as a perfectly sealed story, but as a modern myth, messy, emotional, contradictory, and endlessly debatable. And maybe that's why we're still talking about it.